the road to growth, success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Hi, all you Road to Growth listeners. Thank you for joining us today. We have Nancy Lockhart. She is the founder of Coaching with Kindness. And this is a question, Nancy, that I throw out every time we have a coach, because we've had a good amount of coaches. We do entrepreneurs, but we have a decent amount of coaches on here. And I think I had a coach actually on here yesterday, and they're talking about the difference between coaching and mentoring. But how do you define yourself as a coach, and what separates yourself from as a coach?
Well, great question. And I just want to say I'm so pumped from that music coming in. I'm like, let's go. But it's interesting because I have always been somewhat of a marketing consultant. So my career has really been about helping, healthcare brands to develop their brands and marketing. So I was doing a lot of consulting, and I started my own consulting business a few years ago. But just recently, I started getting into the coaching business, which started taking life coaching, Quantum Success Coaching Academy certification, and getting more aware of the coaching side of business. So I like to think of kind of what I do in a lot of different areas. So I consult, but I coach. So I'm helping women business owners who haven't had access to the resources and the Fortune 100. I've done brands, for Kaiser Permanente and for Blue Cross Blue Shield and Medtronic. I've had the opportunity to work in these big brands, and now I'm shifting so that I can do some work with one-on-one directly with women business owners. And I get to take my background with all of my marketing knowledge and then weave in this coach aspect of it. So, and it's really interesting because a lot of my coaching is law of attraction coaching. I think the thing that makes things separate for me when it comes to like a therapist or a coach is going to bring you forward. Is not so much looking at solving whatever's gone on in the past, but like, where are you right now? And how do we shift that thinking so that we can move forward and get you the results that you want, whether it be in your personal life. And right now my focus is on helping people with their businesses, but they're so closely intertwined that it's super rewarding. And just all the time I'm getting such great feedback from people about how they've discovered for themselves how powerful they are. And then I just intersperse some of my marketing strategy to help them bring their businesses more on life and more reflective of them.
So what brought you into coaching? I know you were talking about that you've helped out a bunch of brands coaching, and we've talked before, Mike, that you've had a lot of life experience.
Right. Yeah.
Why don't you walk us back to, I guess, the beginning of like this transition?
The Wayback Machine.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I have had life experience and then career experience, which I kind of, it's interesting in looking back at the story, if you will. I graduated from college, and I got engaged to my college boyfriend, and he, I grew up in the Midwest, and he wanted to be a police officer in California. So, why not? We're young, let's go to California. And so we did, and he was a police officer there. And I really didn't have much prospects. I was planning a wedding, but unfortunately I was also in an abusive relationship, and it was pretty significant. But I was very much my pie in the sky. I loved him very much. And I thought, if I love him enough, then it'll all be okay. And he'll finally stop. And, I would end up in the hospital all the time, bloody noses, black eyes, cracked ribs. And at one point he had his gun, and he held me at gunpoint, and he was really upset, and there was nothing I could do. And at that time there weren't laws around if there's any disturbance, the cops come and if you don't press charges, they didn't ask questions. And certainly with him being a cop, he'd be like, call the police. What are they going to do? And I knew that. So at that point, that particular situation, I just said whatever I thought he needed to hear, so they would put that gun down. And it was pretty terrifying. But I think that experience, kind of got me to be thinking more about where's my power, and why am I looking, at this marriage, this union, to maybe try to solve that. And fortunately, we had different shifts. He worked at night, I worked during the day, and I did find a job, and I was exposed to our EAP, Employee Assistance Program, where I could contact a therapist, and I started therapy. And from there, I still see the same therapist after, over 20 years. And although off and on, but I was able to get the gumption enough to say, I'm going to leave. And so I left, and it was super hard. That first night sucked. I wanted only to go back because it was what I knew, and again, that whole concept of love was there. And yet I powered through that night. I got to spend the night on a good friend's couch, and she helped me through a lot of stuff too. I had a great support system. But then, I had a job, I was working, I was getting back on my feet, and it felt like things were going the right way. I felt like I had I paid my dues. I went through this terrible experience, and I got out of it. And so I thought, life's going to be a cakewalk now. But a few months later, I was the president of the company called me downstairs, and he said, we're going to have to lay you off. And I was like, okay. And I was walking out of his office, and the receptionist said, hey, you've got a phone call. It's your ex-husband. And I was like, I'm not telling him this happened, because he'll just want me to move back to our house, which we had bought a house, but I had moved out. And quite the contrary, he called to tell me he was moving his girlfriend into our house. And so I was like, wow, okay, well, you know what? Now I really am on my own. I'm far away from my family, I'm far away from friends. And then the Northridge earthquake hit, and I was living in Glendale, which is pretty close to the epicenter, and things literally fell apart again. And I was like, I'm nobody's nothing, I'm not an employee, I'm not a wife, my mom's far away, and dad and sisters, and I had friends, but they weren't the really close friends. I was very very sheltered during that first part of being there. But there wasn't much to do. Our house that we owned went into foreclosure. It was just I was like, okay, life, you just keep kicking me in the head. But you know what? It was okay, one step in front of the other, and how do you get through?
What kept you going? You're getting kicked down, you're getting knocked down. Even the idea that it's all knew in that abusive relationship right there, but there was something inside you, or someone, or something that you're looking at that said, no, I need to go this direction instead of that direction. What was that?
It was really my therapist, who she really, she was just starting out too. And it's interesting because she was, she worked with me so much, and I started to see my own power, and that support and help was critical for me. I'm very close to my family, but they were in Illinois, so I did have that support, over the phone. When the earthquake hit, first thing I did was pick up the phone and call my mom, and I got through, and I stayed on the line with her for 6 hours. And there was aftershocks, and it was extremely scary. But I did have my family. They were just far away. And then I had my therapist, Lisa Dow, who I love. And she helped me a lot. But there were still things in my head that were I think I was still looking externally for a lot of my definition. Who am I? Am I successful? How is that determined based on, the external forces in my life? So,
what did you if your family, your therapist were playing a big factor in this, do you remember what defined success, defined happiness at that time? Was it mini wins? Was it something bigger? I mean, what was that? Do you remember?
Oh, I would. Yeah, it was very much in my head to have a good job, be successful, make money, get married, have kids, white picket fence, the whole thing. And that was really a very loud voice in me at the time. And even though I was getting back on my feet with my career, it really wasn't something, I was still missing pieces that I don't know if I knew that I knew I wanted it. I didn't know how to get like the family part of things at that point in my life.
So was it strictly your therapist that was kind of giving you a roadmap or helping you build a roadmap to find out how to get those things?
Yeah, it was. I did, once I was out of my marriage, I did form a lot of really great friendships. And so they were very supportive as well. I think it was coming to life what I was defining success as. My career was starting to take off. I was, I was advancing. I was, starting to make impact. I'd gotten a new townhouse. I met my current husband, and we ended up getting married, and we have 2 amazing kids that I'm so proud of, and I could do a whole podcast on them. But so it was like, oh, this is all coming to fruition. All the things I'm supposed to have, I'm supposed to be, and this will make me happy. And I couldn't find, I wasn't happy. There was something I was torn up. And, that's when I first started my first business, NAL Consulting, and I was working and I was consulting, and it wasn't really taking off the way I wanted it to. And so I kept looking and I kept looking, and I switched jobs. I went from, client side to the agency side, and that didn't work out. And eventually I couldn't run away from it. And I fell into a hugely deep depression. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't be a mom. I couldn't be, almost was back to that earthquake day where I was like, I'm nothing, but it was self-imposed, even though everything around me was what I was supposed to have and supposed to do and be thankful for and grateful for. But I still was really unhappy. And at that time, I had stopped seeing my therapist on a regular basis. I was like, I've got this. But then I went down really fast. And it was, I was doing a lot of reading and soul searching and reading on spiritual subjects. And I kind of started there. And that's what got me, I think, what brought me back around where I was just, my kids were disappointed. They're like, what's going on, Mom? They didn't understand it. My husband didn't understand it. Rightfully so. I'm genuinely a pretty happy person, but I was miserable. And so I decided, well, one day I was in bed and I had this thought, and I was like, there's this, for some reason I do like this rock, paper, scissors thing where I'm like, take one fist, and this is the fist that's telling me how bad and awful I am and not amounting to anything, and I'm lazy and I'm not working hard. And then I took the other hand, and it's like paper, and I decided to cover it up and say, you're not allowed to talk to her like that anymore. That's it. You're done. And slowly but surely the fisted voice started getting quieter and quieter. And that's when I decided, you know what, I need to go back to see my therapist on a regular basis. And I did get another job. It wasn't exactly the right thing, but it was a great job, great people. But I started really almost opening up and being like, what is it about me that gives me joy, that makes me, happy for me, not based on the external.
How often were you doing the rock and paper thing?
Oh, in the beginning, it was multiple times a day because I was. Yeah.
Every time you felt like a bad thought or something negative, you do that?
Yeah, I would try to. And then I started, doing other little tricks. Like I took a picture that I had of myself. I was 1.5 years old and I had mess all over my face. And I just started thinking about me being a mom to that little girl. And I'd be like, I love you. You're doing an awesome job. I'm so proud of you, and I'm hugging you, like kind of going back in time to take care of the little girl that I was. So I started doing these little kind of, tricks that would shift my mindset and say, this is getting you nowhere, and not where I think I was looking for a path out. And I needed to just start with shutting some of this negativity down. I just start at the beginning.
So did anything externally change? And I know from where you are there to where you are today, it's changed, but has there been more drastic changes or is it more like internal changes that really affected how you perceived your life, your family, your job? Was that what happened? Or?
Well, externally, like I said, I'd gotten a job. I was working for a small organization, a psychiatric medical group, doing marketing for them. I was the marketing department, and that organization was bought by a larger organization, both telehealth companies. And so I was working for the larger organization. I was doing a lot of traveling. They are based in Boston. But I knew my time at the level I was at, there's only so many chiefs, right? So that it was going to be limited. And this time around, I had this, amazing sense of freedom. I was like, wow, taking stock in the fact that I have worked all this time. I have saved money. I have, I am in a good place for myself that if this job it wasn't the answer for me. I knew that. And that's when I started doing things like I built another website. I started eating keto. I lost a bunch of weight. The website was a keto website, and I took a photography class and started taking pictures of the meals I was making and putting them on this, this class. And I was like, this is awesome. I'm having so much fun. Then, and also going and, like doing all that reading, and then this coaching opportunity, the training came up. But because I was like, I'm not sure how to monetize these recipes. They look good, but and people like them, and I got great feedback. But when the coaching came into light, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been doing with my friends and family all my life. I've always been the one that people would come to me, talk to me. I'd be like, why are they telling me these things? This is really personal. But getting to a place where I could provide some comfort and support and some direction. When I got into the life coaching, I was like, oh, this kind of gives me a little bit more structure and some tools, processes to help to coach people. And that was amazingly fulfilling. However, I was like, I still have, and I was still working with clients in the marketing and branding side of the world. So I felt like I was sort of split. And then I was like, I could really combine the two and be really, not just toss away the experiences that I've had from the past, but to leverage those into helping other women to, kind of get out of their own way, to really know who they are. And when you're an entrepreneur, and you know this, it's not too far of a leap from what your business is to who you are. And so, that's just been, an amazing journey. I'm very, very blessed with everything,
I mean, I'm pretty sure I know what you mean, but what do you like fully mean about that idea that there's not a big difference from kind of, I guess, what your business is and who you are? Like in that you're defined by your business in essence, or you're trying to find similarities between the two. Is that kind of what you mean? Or
I'm just saying, when you are an entrepreneur, I think that in order for you, it's not an easy road. You've got to have some backbone, and you got to work really hard. And if it's not something that's driving you from your core versus your head, like I gotta, make a lot of money and do this or that. I mean, I'm sure there's entrepreneurs that do that, but I'm saying, if you want to, if they're not the client for me, if you're talking from, I got this, I want to make money, but I need to know what makes me unique and different, and how do I attract the right clients? Those are the clients for me. And, the people that have really, have put their heart and soul into their businesses. And I truly believe that, there are a ton of coaches, there's a ton of marketing consultants, but there's nobody else but Nancy Lockhart. And I have my own special, skills to bring forward for the right fit. So I'm picky about my clients as well. So if I don't think it's going to be something that I can help them with, or they're not ready to be on the path that I'd like to take them on, then, that's fine. And we can choose to not work together. So
what do you think your biggest struggles have been in building your coaching business?
Well, I think it's interesting. I've done a lot of clubhouses on the imposter syndrome. So thinking, I don't know how to do this. Someone's going to find out. What is, I don't have all these things in place, whether it be websites or jump sites or podcasts, or and allowing myself to say, hey, it takes time to get this going. So really, it's been my own self that has limited me. However, right now, honestly, I'm pushing past that. I'm like, I've got something to give, and it's important. So that's being minimized quite a bit.
So right now, is most of your business coming from like Clubhouse? Do you have online marketing you're doing? Is it referral based? I mean, is it mostly Clubhouse?
It's Clubhouse, but it's also, I have a lot of referral business. And it's more, I'm doing more and more marketing outreach. So I think Linda Sunshine West, she's putting together a book, and I wrote a chapter in that book. And so, doing some things to increase my perception externally, but just everything I'm doing has been such a fulfilling step forward, which I didn't have before when I was working with corporate. So to answer your question, a lot of it's referral, but a lot of it is more getting that marketing arm in place. I mean, it's the cobbler who doesn't have the nice shoes. I'm a marketing person, but I'm getting there. Slowly but surely.
It's that age-old saying, right? You're working in your business, but not on your business. Sometimes.
Yeah.
You got to remind yourself, well, how much time have I spent on my business? And you're like, well, because I know, for myself, I got better at it over the years, but I'm like, I need to get on the phones and prospect. But then you remember the small things of like, okay, well, I need to clean up the website, or I need to do this. I need to, but you're like, I'm taking away from the money making activities. I'm taking away from those kind of things. And it's that balancing act of saying, okay, I'm working on the business right now, but I'll work in the business right then.
Yeah, I have to say, Vinny, it's like, I've never worked as hard as I work now. And my family will be the first to raise their hand and say, Mom, it's time to stop. Last night it was about midnight, and my kids, came in and said, all right, time out, you got to go to bed. But I love it. I'm energized by it. It's not a drudge, but you're right about I'm doing a lot of things to create business, but I need, I also have all these people, like during the day I have clients, but at night I got to work my marketing engine and get things going. So, you can get really, stuck in the mode of you can get paralyzed again almost, where you're like, what do I do first? And I think I've tried to do that where it's like create the space to have, to talk to my clients. I'm also working on, I'm developing a program called the Marketing Makeover Masterclass, where it's an 8-week program, but it is very much something that I'm working to put it online. And so I just engage with those clients that are taking that class, like on a one-on-one or, office hours type of situation. So, I think you're constantly kind of rethinking how is the best use of my time. And also, every once in a while, maybe putting my head up and checking on my kids and my husband.
Did you ever have a conversation with your kids, your husband, about allowing you, right? And I say allowing you basically the time to focus on your business, because that can, if they don't know the guidelines of what you're doing, feel like you're taking time away from them. Maybe you don't love them and things like that. So was there a conversation that happened like that?
Yeah, there's been a few.
Okay.
But when, one of the coolest things, and I talk about bragging about my kids, I signed up for my life coach certification course. And, it was an investment. And I was like, I don't know if I want to tell anybody in my family because they're going to freak out. And I told my younger daughter, and she was like, oh my God, Mom, that's so cool. I'm going to be so cool because you're a spiritual life coach. And I was like, wow, I didn't expect that. But, that was great support. And they saw how fulfilled and happy I am. Even, when I take a walk in the neighborhood, my neighbor's like, you look so happy. I'm like, I'm so happy. I'm doing this great stuff. And, I'm fortunate. But there are times when I have to say, okay, we're going to, I'm going to take Friday morning and spend time with my daughter. And then I'm going to go back and work because that's what mommy does. But I will spend time. And you know what? Thank God my kids and my husband still want to spend time with me. I got to feel blessed. They're, 17 and 19. So, the fact that they're like, hey, it's time for some time with us. And I think it's creating and finding the right balance, but, talking through that and saying, this is what I'm going to do. This is really important to me. And I like the support. Right now I'm sitting in my older daughter's bedroom. That's where I see my clients. They kind of like they kind of like the surfer in the back, but because I guess it gives them calm. But now she's home from college, and I'm like, hey, can I still use your room? And so where my office downstairs is open to the living room and the kitchen and stuff like that. So so I almost have them be part of it, to help me with some, hey, I create, these freebies and I try them out on the kids, what is your brand? And they're going through and I'm like, okay, what's a really cool brand? They're like TikTok. And so I bring them in when I can, and it's fun when I do, but
what do you, and talking about the clients you're working with, the kids, your own kids, if you could look back at your younger self, the one that was in that abusive relationship, that was, a little ways away from losing her job and just in that down moment, needing help to get from point A to point B, point Z. Do you know now that with everything you've known, what would you tell that person? Is there a roadmap, or is it small things, small changes you'd have them do? What would you tell your past self?
I think I would do kind of what I do with the picture. I'd say, hey, listen, you're doing a great job. You got some learning to do. and it takes time, but you're going to get there, and it's the path that you're on. Because I look back now, not that I'm, 1 foot in the grave yet, but, I look back now and I think all of those experiences really brought me to the place where I am now and have enabled me to be who I am. The people that were in my life, my ex-husband, right now in my, my life, I look back and I think, you know what, that was a terrible situation, but I did love him. I still do have love for him. And for whatever he was going through, whatever I was going through, we went through it, and I came out stronger and better and wiser. And so those things, I kind of had to continue to do. So I think if I would have listened to myself, if I myself came up to my younger self, I don't know if I'd listen, but I'd be like, everything's going to be fine. You don't need to worry. You don't need to put yourself through this. You just need to go with the flow, follow life, trust your gut, and be happy, happy. That's how you're supposed to live life. Things are going to happen and you're going to have to deal with them, but know that overall that life is good, and life has, some amazing things to offer you. So, so don't be so hard on yourself, I'd probably say.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big thing for everyone, is how you perceive your life. I mean, there's probably someone else that wishes they had your life. It doesn't matter how bad it is.
Exactly.
Wishes they had it. Yeah. I mean, if you could, look 5 years, 10 years from now, do you know where you plan to be, where your company plans to be? I mean, what's your game plan?
Yeah, well, I plan to be, continuing success, continuing to impact people's lives. But right now, I have the ability in my business to be able to work wherever I want to. So I intend to travel and to embrace the flexibility that I have. But I, and probably be even more selective about who I'm working with. But it's such a rush. You've got to feel that too when you connect someone with the right place, to be like, oh my God, this is their home. Like this is where they're gonna, raise their kids or retire or whatever the life stage is. And they make that, that special purchase. It is a total high. It is a ton of fun, and I want more of that. And I want to be able to help people in any way I can. So I see myself having it all.
Yeah, I look at it within real estate. We see people in the low moments, high moments, and life events, and another life event for your clients are people that are starting their business. That's their baby for some people. That's like you're saying, that you're putting hours on hours for this child you're looking to raise into an adult business that you can, one day either sell off or
exactly.
Longevity.
Yeah.
So I totally agree.
Yeah, I have clients. It's interesting because I do have some clients that are starting up. Like they may have had other businesses, but now they're going into a business where they're like, this is part of who I am. And, one of the questions is, well, why hadn't you started this before? Which I will, be a totally fair question. I ask myself that, like, oh my God, if I only could have started this a little while ago. But that's where that law of attraction coaching, bringing into helping, them to figure out, what their vision is, what packages, what they're going to name their products and services. But like, what has stopped you, or what has caused you to attract clients that are, they're flaky, or they don't pay their bills, or, whatever. I have a whole thing on are you attracting these kinds of clients, which is kind of funny. But it's interesting, because that's when you start to get into the life coaching, where people are like, oh crap, I didn't even think about that, that was getting in my way. And so let's remove that. Let's address it. Let's tell it, thank you for doing what you think you're supposed to be doing to help my life, but I don't need it. As you can see, I'm very visual. Like I have these things that I've, implemented to help me to get through my stuff, that I help other people to do that as well. And it's, I'm so blessed because I get the best feedback. People are like, that was stopping me. And that fear kept coming up that stopped me from being able to really embrace the next step in, or this business, or to step out of corporate and do something I love. So it's a really cool combination that I get to work with people on.
I think you've already answered it. I mean, maybe once or twice already, but the last idea is, if someone's thinking right now, they're watching right now, and they're in the early stages of starting their business, is it more so finding out the packages? Is it finding out who you are and how that correlates to the business you plan to build? Is it the ideal clients? I mean, what's a big focal point that someone should just think about, maybe relax on, and kind of put in the back of their head if they're thinking about starting a business?
Well, as being a brand strategist, I'm always going to go back to a foundational strategy for your business, to like really know why you're doing what you're doing, and to lay that, so that every day, good days or bad days, you can go back to that foundation and say, oh yeah, I'm doing this so that I can provide clarity for people starting their business, or whatever it is, that lofty goal that you may never achieve. But I do think it's important to assess, do you have the time? What are your resources? What kind of investment can you put into this? Because you can, if you're not in that place of being able to, to understand that you're kind of doomed to fail a little bit. So I think it's important to have people, really think about that foundation, why they're doing it, and then who are you doing it for? What's the problem that you solve? It's really fundamental, I think, for building a business or starting a business. And so often people will jump right into, I need a name for this thing, or I need a name for my product, and if it's not. So it's almost like a macrame, you're weaving a bunch of things together, but the basis needs to be really strong, fibers that you're weaving together. And so it can be successful. So it can withstand the pandemics of the world. Let's hope that doesn't happen again. But that kind of thing where people like to jump that. And I've found, even in corporate life, I'll be like, why don't we go back and figure out, what is this, they'll have visions and missions and stuff on the wall, but is that your truth? Is that your organization's truth now? And having gone through, going through a pandemic, working at a telehealth company, it was like, oh my God, it was great, but you had to gear up and we were working like crazy. And how do you match this newfound wave of need? Go back to who are you and what do you stand for? And quite honestly, that helps you filter out some things that may not be in alignment with who you are and then who your business is. I mean, it's really, really foundational if you take the time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you've talked about it multiple times, having a coach, having someone to talk to, having a good support system right there. I mean,
yeah,
just imagine where you would be if you didn't have your therapist,
Yeah.
So that's, anyone listening right now is really find a support system. I think that's a big takeaway, at least that I'm pulling away.
Cool. Well, I'm glad to hear that, because it's true. Oftentimes we're like, I can do this on my own. Or maybe it's cheaper, or I can't spend the money. It's such an investment. I think of my therapy and even the coaching that I do. It's like, if you were going to give yourself a massage, this is a massage for your brain. This is your time. This is your, indulge yourself, and then realize how good you feel taking good care of your mind. You take care of your body, you eat well, you exercise, but taking the time to take care of your mental health is so critical. And in doing that, get out of your head and get into your core and your soul and what's your truth. That's been an amazing discovery for me. So Yeah, that would be my advice, and that's what I always try to gear. Let's start at the beginning with clients, even if they're already halfway there. It's like, okay, well, let's go back to what's your core and where you want to go now that you're here. Where do you want to go there, and how does that align with why you started doing this in the first place? So,
well, thank you, Nancy, for being on the Road to Growth podcast. Hopefully, everyone listening got some great nuggets right there. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are today. I mean, you could be in a really bad spot, wherever it might be. Find someone to get you on that roadmap to a better place, to a better you, to a better whoever. And if you're looking to start a business, know in essence, your why, what you're trying to get across. So,
Simon Sinek, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you guys. Please subscribe, please share, follow Nancy, and I'll see you on the next podcast.
Thank you so much, Vinny. Take care.